Thank you for being here for this session of Global Technology, Tech 5173, and the section is 001. And today we have a treat. We have a guest speaker, and Miss Kelly Simmons. She took that class before, and she was so superior in her performance, and I invited her to speak in the class after even she finished. And she has multi-talents. She is a poet, she is a writer, and she works here at Eastern at the same time, full-time. And enough of introduction because she has some other things to say to you today. And if you remember when we started the first day, we said about global technology, the word global in our class would mean people. Remember that? So today she will concentrate on that element, people, about you and me and others as well. So the human element here that makes us better technologists. Say hi. Biguan. Very good. Would you give her a warm welcome, please?
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure for me to get to come and speak to the students of the semester. So, it's nice to see you all here tonight. Yes, it is cold, of course. We have to pick the coldest day ever for me to have to come back out too. And so on, but it's just what it is. So, as Dr. Wabi indicated, I'm going to focus on the human element today, and we're going to talk about effective communication. And we're going to look at this through a few different lenses, and you're probably used to hearing communication discussed. We're going to be looking at the people. Okay? We're going to be talking about those who are senders of communication. Okay? That's me. I'm talking to you, right? And those who are receivers of communication. That's you. You're my listener. Okay? And so what we're going to talk about today are just some ways, some barriers to our levels of communication, some ways that we can become self-aware so that we can become better receivers of information and better givers of information. All right. Of course, this is global technology, so we're going to be talking about some issues regarding technology as well. But mostly this is going to be about us. It's going to be about people. It's going to be how we interact. So the first slide, and I might as well just say right now, I'm terribly sorry, bear with me. I have quite a nasty cold right now, so my voice is probably going to be a little annoying. I know it. All right, so first of all, effective communication. Can it look like this? How many of you think it can look like this slide? Effective communication. Can it look like this? No? Okay. Why do we say no? Someone who shook their head. Okay, they don't have eye contact. All right, they're not effectively communicating with each other. Is it possible that they're effectively communicating with whoever's at the other end of their device? Maybe. Okay, so this is a little bit of a trick, right? But it is important to point out the different methods, the different ways that we prefer to communicate. So, I think that we could all agree that this group, they're not communicating effectively with one another, okay? At least not in the traditional way that we're used to, as we're talking right now, right? Unless maybe, I guess, they're texting each other. That could be, right? May still not be, like, personally, that wouldn't be my preferred method of communication, so maybe that's how they like to do it. So, is it possible that it can look like this? Sure. Can it always look like this? No, absolutely not, right? There are different circumstances. There are different times that different methods of communication are appropriate. Okay. Does it look different to different individuals? This is quite a funny cartoon, I thought. She's saying to her probably significant other, right? Do you mind if I strap your phone to my forehead so I can pretend you're looking at me when I talk? All right? How many of us have been in a situation where we've been with someone who's doing what that guy is doing? Yeah, really nice to see you. Right? Okay? Some of us may be guilty of doing it ourselves. we have different preferred methods of communication. How many of you would prefer getting a text message to a phone call? Some? Okay. The rest of you would prefer just talking on the phone? How many of you would prefer a one-on-one meeting versus email back and forth communication? Prefer face-to-face? How many prefer face-to-face? Right? Okay. Again, circumstances are going to dictate it, but we're also all people, right? We have different preferences. We have different things that we expect and that we like better, things that are more effective for us. Okay? So keep those sorts of things in mind as we go through our presentation today. But we're going to talk about people, okay? Specifically, the people we're going to talk about today is me, us, right? That doesn't mean I'm going to stand up here and talk about myself, although that would be terribly interesting for all of you, I'm sure. But we're going to think about this in terms of me. What can I do? Okay? What's impacting me? So, how diversity and cultural differences can impact communication is a very important element. Now, often when we use terms like diversity, we're talking about perhaps where we're from, or the language we speak, or the religion we practice, or the color of our skin, right? I'm going to use it in a little bit more of a broader sense today because we're all diverse from one another, right? We're going to have more and less things in common with each other. Maybe if we are the same or opposite gender, if we were born in the same geographical location, if we have those similar influences, we may be more alike or less alike. But ultimately, we are all unique beings, right? So we're all going to have different preferences. And all the things that make us who we are, all the things that impact us through our life, they're going to make a difference on how we communicate. And again, on how we receive and on how we send. Okay? A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is how we receive. Okay? Because usually we have quite a lot of control over that, right? How I hear you, how I perceive you, I can make a difference. I can change that, right? So I like to start there. Okay? So how does this all tie together? Well, I want to give you some definitions because I'm going to be throwing a lot of words at you today, and it's important that we're on the same page when I'm using this language. Right? It's important that you understand the meaning of what I'm saying. Okay? So, we're just going to start with a very basic, here's what I mean when I say da da da. Okay? Now, I think that Autodesk 360 is ready to install. Just that would distract me as a receiver. Very good. Okay. So, this has 3 different definitions. Now, I personally think that these would be ordered better. I didn't make this thing, I just need to change the image, but they would be ordered better if this was 1, that was 2, and that was 3. Okay, here's why. Stereotypes, which I'm going to go ahead and give number 1 anyway. Stereotypes are generalized beliefs about members of a group. Okay? So, what I mean by that is, I think all members of this group are the same and have this trait. Okay? To simplify things. So that's a stereotype. There are a lot of things that impact our stereotypes, and we're going to get into that here in a few slides to come. But that's what I mean when I say stereotype. A generalized belief about members of a group. Okay? These are often faulty, right? Because we're applying it to everyone. We're applying one thing to everyone. Okay? Very rarely does everything impact others the same way. All right. So the second thing is actually the top, and that is prejudice. That is a generalized attitude toward members of a group. Okay? To me, I think this takes it up a notch. Okay? We went from what I kind of believe about this group. Okay? I might not even be conscious of these stereotypes. We go from that to my attitude Now that's a very different thing, right? My attitude is going to show outwardly. Okay? When you talk to me, if I have a stereotype and I allow that to be what I believe and what I accept, I may not interact with you in a very nice way. Or maybe my bias is positive, and so I think that you're going to be a genius because of something. I'm generalizing, and then I'm applying that to a specific person. Okay? Stereotyping is a belief. Prejudice is an attitude. We've taken it to another level. Discrimination is action. Okay? That is what I choose to do. This is my behavior. So now I am directing a behavior at a particular group because of my stereotype, which has gone to my prejudice, which has gone to discriminatory acts. Okay? Is everybody with me on these? Okay, good, thank you. Now, when we talk about stereotypes, and that's what you're going to hear me repeat the most, okay? Because we kind of have the least control of stereotypes. There are a lot of things that kind of plant those seeds in our heads, and we don't have a lot of control about it, over what's in it. What we do have control over is analyzing what our stereotypes are. Wait, where did that come from, right? Those knee-jerk thoughts that we may have. Wait, where did I get that from, right? Am I okay with the fact that this is how I feel? You know, if I am, okay. But at least I've taken a moment to try to become self-aware. Where did that come from? Am I okay with it, right? If I'm not okay with it, then I need to make sure it doesn't turn into prejudice, that I don't start acting on it or behaving, having a different attitude. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put myself out there, okay? I'm going to use myself as an example. And I am going to share with you a series of facts about myself. And some of the things I say are going to be true. And some of the things that I say are going to be complete lies. All right? Now, you don't know me, right? Dr. Wabi said I'm your guest lecturer tonight, so here I am. And so you're sitting, and you're smiling, and you're nodding, and you're paying attention to me, right? And when I got up here and started talking, and when I walked into this room, and when I gave you a handout, when I smiled, you began to form a picture of who you think I am, right? This is something we do. We're trying to decipher our environment. We're trying to figure out who we're dealing with. We're very inquisitive, aren't we? We want to know, okay? It's kind of cruel, and I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not going to give you the answers to what's true and what's a lie at the end of this. That would drive me crazy if I were in your shoes. But why? Why do we feel such a need to know? Why does it matter what of the things I tell you are going to be true or going to be a lie? Does it make a difference on whether or not you think what I'm saying is valid? Okay? You are my receiver. But how you perceive me has a great deal to do with how you listen to me. Okay? What you take on board. How many of you think that's a true statement that I just said? You think that's true? That it matters what we hear? Okay. All right, so as I go through these things, again, keeping in mind, I'm going to share some things about myself that are true, and I'm going to tell you some things that are total lies. But what I want you to do, as I make a statement about myself, is I want you to think about what am I triggering in your brain, if anything. For the better, for the worse, is it positive, is it negative, and would it impact how you hear my lesson? Okay? Everybody ready for that? I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm not going to say, what did you think when I said this? I promise. Okay? This is for you. This is for you to turn inside and go, oh, okay? Or, yeah, I know I think that way. That's okay with me. Fine too. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to throw you one that's true. This isn't a trick. This is true. This is the only freebie I'm going to give you. I'm pregnant. About 5 months pregnant. Okay? That's true. So, secondly, not married. And this is my second child. They have 2 different fathers. I'm living off the government. I have my PhD. I am married to an immigrant. I am married to someone in the U.S. military. I work for Eastern Illinois University. I'm married to a woman. Okay. Now, some of those things are true. Some of those things are not. Okay? Did you feel a little trigger as I said a few of those things? Did you think that would make a difference? I'm not going to tell you. Because in a rosy world, in an ideal world, it really wouldn't be important, right? With the exception of, and I'll admit, the education piece is kind of not fair, right? That's an earned thing, right? But the other things, are they important to what I know? To what I have to share with you? Probably not. But do they impact your picture of who I am? Probably so. Okay? Now, I think with the last class, Dr. Wabi spoiled the game after I left, and that's just fine. He can tell you who I am after I'm done. But for the course of today, I'm not going to tell you what's true, what's not. All right? I just want you to be receptive, to trust what I have to say, to trust that Dr. Wabi didn't bring a complete lunatic in here. Wow. That's a big ask, right? Okay. So, how we think of others. Does it impact how we hear others? Yes. Is it difficult to think of stereotypes for other groups? When I use that term, it just means you're not me. There's something other about you. You're not like me. Okay? So you're thinking about other than you, right? Is it difficult to think of stereotypes? Did things pretty easily come to mind when I gave you those little true and lie facts about myself? For the most part, did each of those bring off some alarm bells in your head? Okay. Generally, were they positive things or were they negative things? Are stereotypes that come to mind generally positive or negative? Tell me. Do we think of generalizations as good things usually? I think we think in terms of the negative, especially for other groups. You're not like me. I don't understand you. What's going to stick out to me is probably going to be the negative things, right? Okay. Probably, as I was going through, some of those would have triggered nice things. But probably a lot of what was triggered was real, right? Even though you know I'm kind of lying on probably most of the things I said. But still, you're thinking, wait, is that true? What? Right? We're thinking negative things. And if we allow these negative stereotypes, right, generalizing. This whole group has to be like this because I think everybody in this group is like this. If we allow that to play a leading role in our communication, then we are going to be in trouble, right? We're not going to work very well. We're not going to receive information from other people very well. This is global technology. We're in a very global world, right? If everything that we hear and accept and respect and work well with, if every person we work well with has to be like us, we're not going to be very ready for a global marketplace, are we? Because that's not the reality of things now. We're all different. We're all very different. And whatever's the same and whatever's different, what we're going to talk about is respect. And we will get to that. And that is the real kicker. I could just talk for 2 minutes about respect and shorten this whole thing up. Maybe next time, Dr. Robbie. Respect and we'll be done. Okay, and then how can we successfully put these beliefs and biases aside? Okay, you don't have to agree with me or like me. How can we put them aside and work effectively together? A lot of times when we talk diversity as well, I said we talk diversity and we don't talk about just being different people, we talk about having some different generalization, right, about each other. But a lot of times I also hear the word tolerate, right? We need to tolerate each other. Oof. No, I don't want you to tolerate me. I want you to work with me. I expect you to work with me. I want to work with you. I want to be successful together, right? That's what we need to strive for, okay? It doesn't mean we have to become the same person or have the same belief set. It means, how can we work together successfully, right? Okay. So, back to the stereotype piece. I told you this was coming. I know you've been waiting for it. Here it is. All right. I look at stereotypes as being influenced by 3 spheres in our lives. Of course, this is a very complex sort of issue, but just to simplify it in the terms that we can really talk about, take a bite out of as we discuss it. 3 spheres, okay? The first sphere is the internal sources, and that's who we are. Okay, that's how I think of it. My internal source is me. Right? So that is what makes me me. That may be the religion that I follow, or don't if I don't follow a religion. That may be my gender, my political affiliation, my socioeconomic status, my racial identity, right? There are many, 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 many things here, but these are just to give you an idea, okay? That's me. That's who I am. My perception is going to be hugely influenced by that, because that's the only pair of eyes I'm ever going to be able to look out from. That's the thing about us, right? We say, oh, if I could step into your shoes. We can't. I can't step into your shoes. I can only look through these eyes, okay? That's all I can take care of. So you're going to hear me say that kind of a lot of times today. If we can take care of these eyes, then we're all going to be a lot better off, okay? I can take care of me. I can change my attitude. Okay, so internal sources, they affect our stereotypes. The assumptions that I make about groups, the generalizations that I make about groups. This isn't a conscious thing. This isn't something that I'm doing to be exclusionary or to be rude or because I don't like you. It's not personal, right? It's what I've come to believe somewhere deep in my subconscious, right? It's what I think. It's influenced heavily by external sources, the second circle. Our external sources are the noise. That's what I think of it. Noise that we hear so often that we don't even realize we hear the noise. And we take it on board after a while, right? Now some of this is from very great places, okay? We see family up there, okay? We see friends, we see coworkers. What the people in our little inner circles believe has a huge influence on what we believe too, right? You're like me, that's why we're friends or we're whatever. So that's a huge influence. But it's also external sources like media, right? We see the same character archetypes in movies, all these different times, and then we go, oh, well, that must be what blonde ladies are like. Because every movie that has a blonde lady in it, she's like that, right? So there's blonde. That's not a bad example, actually. Blonde jokes. Are you familiar with? No. Blonde jokes in the U.S. is like blondes are stereotypically not very smart. Where did that come from? It's like half the population, right? So it's, Google it, dumb blonde joke. It's not nice, but I'm just telling you, these are phenomena that happen. Where did it come from? Who knows? But it's enduring, right? Now, do people really, really believe it? Probably not. But how many times do you hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it, right? Before a little seed starts to get hold, right? Oh, maybe. Where does that come from anyway? I guess maybe they're a little bit, not quite as smart as brunettes. Thank you. But those sorts of things are what happens. We don't know. Where did it start? Where did it come from? But we hear it. Okay, so the third sphere, is our personal experience. And I picked on, I guess I'll use him again. In the last class, I knew one of the gentlemen in the class, and he is on the soccer team here on campus. So, let's just say that my personal experience is that one of these players on our soccer team comes up and hits me. Whoa, right? That's damn cool. It's going to be memorable. It's going to be emotional, right? Someone hits me, and the person who hits me happens to be the soccer team. So, what I take from that personal experience is obviously that every soccer player must hit people, right? Obviously. And that's very real to me. That happened. I can defend that. I can tell you. I can tell you. They're going to hit you. And my reason is because this guy hit me. And he's one of them. Okay? So obviously they must all be like that. Okay? We have that tendency. Here's my representative for the group. I don't know much about this group, but I know this guy did something I don't like. So he must be just like all the guys in that group. Okay? Dangerous stuff. And we convince ourselves. Not in a malicious way. I'm not trying to demonize the entire soccer team, right? But it's truly what I've taken on board. It's what I believe. Now, the trickiest spot for stereotypes, there's a bit of a maze back here, I'm sorry. The trickiest spot for stereotypes that we believe is right here, where all three of those spheres overlap. Because what's happening then is what I think, because of who I am, is reinforced by what I hear, by who I know, by the media. And then I have a personal experience, and maybe just one, that backs that up. I'm hardly even aware, if I'm right in the middle of those three circles, I'm hardly even aware that that's in my mind anymore. I know it's true now. That becomes my reality. Okay? And if we don't pause to say, where did that come from? It's going to stay there. Right? It's going to be the way it is. And not only is it going to stay there in me, I'm probably going to try to convince other people too. I know that this is right. I know this is right. Because it's what I always thought, and then this one instance reinforced it. Alright? So what it comes down to, okay, because all of those things are going to put stereotypes here, right? That's okay. It doesn't make us bad. Having stereotypes is not our fault. But if we throw up our hands and say, oh, I can't do anything about that, that we have to own. Okay? That's on us. Because of course we can do something about it. We're not helpless, are we? Not helpless creatures. We can figure out who we are and what we think. We're completely empowered and able to do that. So that's what we need to do. Figure out where it came from. And going back to my global business, working efficiently with each other, right? Tolerate is not like enough. Respect. So misunderstood. Because respect is not agreement. And it's not approval. You don't have to be like me or agree with what I say or agree with how I live or what I do or who I am. None of it. You don't have to approve of me to respect me. You can respect me because I deserve respect. Right? And that's it. And respect is not a value judgment. It's very similar to that, but I'm not condoning something that you're doing. I'm not making a statement. I'm not giving a value to what you do. I'm just saying, hey, we're different. We're different for lots of reasons. That's okay. Right? I can accept it. We can work with it. Even though we're different. Even though we have different opinions, views of the world, etc. Right? That's very important. And it takes a certain level of maturity that many people lack. Right? You've kind of lost the art of being able to disagree respectfully with one another. Sorry, you hear that in the lobby. But it's so important to have different perspectives, and even to be able to say, I don't really, that's just not aligned with what I think. That's not who I am. I don't really agree with that. But I'm okay with the fact that you think that way. I think you're still, you're just an A-okay person. You can think that way. You're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to try to change your mind. But we can respect each other, and we can work effectively together. Respect is an expectation of acceptance and fair treatment. Okay? And that's basic. That's what respect is. That's what we deserve. That's what you deserve. That's what I deserve. Right? Fair treatment. Not that difficult. And respect is a willingness to acknowledge those differences. Hey, elephant in the room, we're not the same. It's okay. We can be different. Right? I dare say that nobody in this room was born in the same city that I was born in. Right? Oh, I probably shouldn't talk about that. I hope I'm not embarrassing anyone. It's okay. It's better. It's better for us to come together and to have discussion with our own perspectives. Right? What you can offer me is an insight that I'm not going to be able to get with my eyes. It's not going to happen. I can only live inside of my own experience. But you could share with me a whole different world than I'm used to. And that's okay. I can do the same for you, by the way. I don't think that you have the same experiences, or the same adventures, the same learning opportunities that I have. Right? But we come together to this common point. Hey, talk about it. We're different. Okay. For values and beliefs, they impact our perceptions and our actions. And we've talked about that, right? We've talked about that. We're different. We're different because of where we came from. But it's very important to recognize our biases. Just kind of summarizing what we've discussed. It's very important to understand the origin of it, and then to make an intellectual decision. Right? It's not an emotional decision. It's not something that's just in our subconscious that we're accepting, that we're taking on board. I'm making an intellectual decision. That I'm okay with that. That is what I think. That's all right. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't do that. Right? But what I am telling you is to challenge it first. Question it first. Know yourself. Know where that's from. And then an awareness of differing beliefs. Okay? And that's okay. All right. This is a neat little diagram. The icebergs on the top of the surface and the bottom of the surface. I asked the last class that how many of you heard like the iceberg 10% on the surface and 90% underneath the water? No? Yeah, you've heard that? Okay, all right. I don't know if I've got my percentages right. Okay, good deal. Got a couple of heads nodding. Don't trust me, right? That's what Dr. Robbie would say. I don't trust me. And plus, I've already told you that I'm going to tell you lies. Right? Here, I'm going to tell you things that are true and lies. Do you think that stopped? No, it did, I'm kidding. But I don't know. I don't remember specifically the 10 and 90 thing. So, look up icebergs, what they say about that. But for this particular diagram, that's the idea of an iceberg. There are things that are on the surface level that we can see about each other. Okay? When I stood up here and I came in the room and I smiled and I passed out your handouts and all of those things. You can see certain things, right? You can see me. And those certain things are cues. And so you begin to paint a picture. Right? That's what we do when we meet somebody. Even before we really start to talk in the book, we see and we begin to paint a picture. Okay? Immediately. Now, I've messed up that painting like crazy by lying and telling you truth. You don't really know what I look like. I'm a larger sense. But that very initial, you see me and you start to think things about me. That's at the top. That's on the surface, right? So that is my gender, my age, not the actual number, but it'd be interesting to take a poll. But my general age, my language, as soon as I start speaking, you can tell at least one of my languages. I might be bilingual, but you can tell the language that I speak. And most of the time we can pick up what a person's native tongue is, right? Or if you're speaking in a second language. Attitude, right? That's kind of body language, right? So you can pick up on that pretty quickly. That's moving down a little bit. Talent, again, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time with me probably to tell what that is. But then we get to the below the water. It's all blue, so kind of hard to tell. So you can see the water line, right? So we get below the water. And the things that are below the water, you're not going to know unless I share, right? You want to know that, you're going to have to know me, at least a little bit. So those things are function, maybe my profession, my job, my religion, my values, my sexual orientation, my thought processes, my level of education, right? These are things that you're really not going to pick up. Certainly not from me walking into a room and saying, hi. You're not going to get that, okay? So we go deeper and go deeper and go deeper. Now, which of these things are more important in making that part of me up? Probably a lot of what's under the surface has much more to do with my perspective, right, and with my total picture as a person. You can't see that. So just keep that in mind, right? When we begin to paint that picture, which we're gonna do, that's how it goes. We figure out our environment, we figure out what's around us, who's around us. But just keep that in mind. This is a snapshot, right? Now, I have an activity that I would like to do. But for this activity, I'm going to need volunteers. Now, the ever elusive A in Dr. Wabi's class may or may not be riding on it. No, it isn't. But it would really be helpful if I could get a volunteer. Or 4, if I'm being optimistic. Can I have 1 to start with, please? 1 volunteer. Thank you. Will you come to the front, please? You want to come here? Okay. So, what we're gonna do? Rami. Hi, I'm Kelly. All right. So, okay, you can stand right next to me. Okay. All right. So, what Ramin and I are going to do is an activity to demonstrate how communication style can have a lot to do with how we communicate with each other. Okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you this card. I've got a lot of things in my hand. I'm going to start with. Okay. So you stick to the communication on that card. Okay? You do that. So we're going to introduce ourselves to each other. Okay? Just share a little bit in that conversation. And I'm going to be just me, normal. And Ramin is going, am I saying that correctly? Okay. Going to follow the instructions for communication on the card that I've given him. Now, I've created these, there are 4, so think about if you're going to be brave and volunteer after he shows you how it's done. There are 4 cards, and they represent just different communication methods, styles, quirks, if you will. from different cultures, but none of this is any specific. Okay. Um, so he is going to demonstrate. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
My name's Kelly. How are you?
I'm listening to you. My name is Andy.
Okay, Ramin. So, are you up on the card?
Excuse me?
Communicating with the style
Oh,
of the card?
yeah. Oh, excuse me.
That's quite all right.
Excuse me. Yeah.
All right. So, you're in the graduate program here at Eastern.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And how are you liking it?
It's awesome. You know, it's all about sustainability and why not like clean technology and it's the future.
Okay. Well, so do you like Dr. Wabi's class?
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Are you guys picking up anything that's on his card? Is that hard for you to do or what, right? You can be you again. Tell me one thing that he's demonstrating that's different. Did you see a difference from when he started talking to me and then he went, "Oh yeah," and I said the card and he said, "Oh yeah." What changed? What did he do differently? Eye contact. Did he make eye contact with me? No. Okay? That is a cultural communication difference. All right? As most of you have probably noticed, I'm very big on eye contact. Okay? It tells me a lot. I look around the room one at a time and make eye contact with you. I want to see your eyes. I want to see your nodding. I want to see your smiles. I want to know you're with me. Okay? That's cultural. That is a me thing. Okay? I like eye contact. Now, what if I'm communicating with him and he finds it very disrespectful that I continue to make eye contact with him in the eye? Is that going to change the way that he's perceiving me? Is that going to change the way that I perceive him? Probably so. We're probably going to have a hard time communicating with each other effectively because I'm going to be hung up on trying to hello, and he's going to be thinking, what is wrong with me? Right? It's a misunderstanding, it's a miscommunication. But we need to be aware of those styles, okay? And I'm going to say styles because a lot of them are cultural, but a lot of them are just our preferences too, right? So if we can be aware of those, then what I can change is me, right? Here we go. I'm going to start working on that. I can change me. I can decide that I'm not going to take it personally that he's not looking me in the eyes. Okay? I'm going to accept that that's just something that's different about us. And I'm not going to be hung up on that. And then I'm not going to be challenging his view that that's not a respectful way to communicate. Right? Is that going to change how we interact if I just let that go? Probably. What can I change? I can change me. Very much so. Okay. Okay, who's going to do it now? I'll settle with one more. I won't make you guys, I won't look through it. I don't want to point anybody out. It'll be the first time ever. Woohoo! We have a winner! Thank you. A plus. A plus for Ramin. A plus. Alright. So, I'm going to give you this one, okay, please? What's your name?
Winnie.
Winnie?
Winnie.
I didn't say it right. How many again?
Winnie.
Winnie? Okay. Did you understand that instruction? So, and don't worry about it. Yeah. But, just remember. Okay. So, we are going to have a conversation.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing okay, guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like the weather?
Yeah, I don't like it, but I'm getting used to it, so
Yeah.
it should be.
Okay. A little cold, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here, I'll do it. Okay. So, do you have any spring break plans?
Yes, I do. I'm planning to go to Florida because it'll be warmer there.
Florida,
Yeah.
because it won't be like this.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this one's a little bit harder to
Yes.
emphasize, but tell them what's on your card there, sir.
You want me to tell
Sure.
them?
Yes.
Use gestures often while speaking and be 6 inches closer to.
Right. Stand closer See, we're standing close. This isn't like normal, you know. Are y'all aware with the bubble? You got your bubble of comfort zone. Um, so, if we have a different level of comfort, right? And I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna talk to you and I'm gonna be way closer than you're comfortable with. Is that gonna impact the way that you hear me? No, not physically. Is it going to impact the way that we communicate with each other? It depends on how you process it, okay? That's a very good point, right? It's gonna depend. Does it depend on you as the receiver? Mm-hmm. No? Okay, how not? How not? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, get rid of her, right? Okay. So those are all very valid points, right? You have control of that. If I'm too close to you, without even saying anything, you can subtly take a step back, right? And if you realize what you're saying, I think is if you realize I'm not getting it, you can just go, all right, and deal with it, okay? You have that control as the receiver of the message, okay? I might not be getting it when I'm too close, okay? Now, our personal space bubbles, or whatever you want to call it, those do tend to be quite culturally determined, okay? But they're also very, very, very much individually determined, okay? So, just because I'm from the Midwest, okay, I'm probably going to have maybe a bit of a larger space bubble. And you know, it's actually because of the amount of room, like it's the amount of space that I'm actually used to. I'm not used to crowds. I'm not used to, and so that all impacts it, all subconsciously in here, right? But I may not realize it. You may not realize that I have a quite large comfort zone, and you're too close. Okay. Now, if I, as the receiver, get hung up on that, then in my mind, I might get lost in my own thoughts. I might get lost thinking, oh, this is that talk, right? And I'm not listening to you anymore. It's not on purpose, not because I'm trying to be rude. It's because I'm a bit selfish, right? I'm worried about me. What makes me comfortable? What makes me happy? So again, I can own that as a receiver, okay? Doesn't mean I have to make provisions for you. I have to change. But it just means if I can be aware of that, I can change me. I can't change you. You're not going to know. We just have a different perspective. Okay. These are the different styles. The other two were speak more loudly than you normally would, right? People have different voice levels. I do training by profession, training development, and so hopefully when I'm doing a training or when I'm speaking, I tend to project. I can be quite loud. My voice is a little sorry right now. But as a person in general in life, if we're having a conversation, I don't think of myself as a very loud person. But when I'm training, I have a different voice, right? It's a part of my profession. It's part of who I am. Eventually, in time, that could impact my personal life. I might not even realize that I'm using that loud voice at a time I normally wouldn't, right? All those things factor into it. Okay, and then yellow, 8. Where did I even get 8 from? I'm sorry, time for me to go home. D, or yellow, was speak more softly than you normally would, so much quieter tone. Never interrupt, right? This is more of a submissive, count to 6 before responding. If you've ever been in a conversation with somebody where you want to just answer the questions for them, have you ever experienced that? Oh, come on, spit it out. Right? That's what this idea is. Okay, so we've talked about that. We're gonna move on. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Time just gets away from me, honestly. That's all right. You guys with me so far? Okay. Doing all right. Good deal. All right. So we're gonna talk, and this will go pretty quickly. Communication barriers and counter methods. Okay, so we've talked about the human element, and we've talked about that diversity piece, which is so important. Diversity as us as different unique beings. right? So this is still us as different, unique beings, but we're just looking at it in a slightly different way. This is communication barriers and counter methods. These are just general barriers that prevent us from having a successful conversation with one another. Okay? Oh, first of all, I don't know why I put it in this order. I'm sorry. I did this last time too. I went, oh, wait, what? This is a technology class, right? So our communication has been heavily influenced in the past few decades with electronic means of communication. That's how it is, right? Great. We love being able to email each other and text each other and call, right? Awesome. How many of you have seen this video or this image? Has anybody seen this? No? Okay. This is the extent of how things go. If you notice the young man on the white boat, he is on his smartphone texting, okay? And what, a yard from his boat, a meter from his boat, is a humpback whale, okay? Quite a rare thing to see. And there was a cinematographer of some sort on a nearby boat who witnessed this. And if you are interested in this or at all or find it kind of amusing, Google this. Google like, man texting near whale or something, and it'll bring the video up. And it's astonishing because it's not just like one time. This whale is right by his boat and he never looks up. He never sees it. He is texting. His nose is in his phone the whole time. Okay? So we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of what's going on around us. Technology has done, has improved our communication methods by so much, right? I rely on Skype quite a lot for family who's far away, right? I don't know what I'd do without that. But we have to keep it in moderation. We can't forget our other human elements, right? Can you imagine being the guy who missed seeing a humpback whale? I can't imagine that. It's very sad. So, aside from ourselves and our narrow focus on things, physical and environmental barriers. Physical and environmental. Here we go. Barriers are literal, so like walls, doors. If I'm in a cubicle, right? Those are going to be literal barriers that prevent me from talking to the person next to me. Okay. Distance, so geography is a barrier. And this could be like in the global business world, if you're in another country, or it could be in the smaller microcosm if you're down the hall from me. I'm just not there, right? You've got some distance between us. That is a barrier. And then for physical and environmental sense barriers, like the 5 senses, that's also a big one. If we're trying to have a conversation and there's a lot of noise going on, I'm going to have a hard time hearing you. That's going to be a barrier from my understanding. If there are, luckily not. Have you ever been in a room with a flickering, like fluorescent light, one of these? But that's me. But it does, right? So that's a visual distraction. I was saying, it's a good thing not, because there's that flashing LED colored thing at the back of the room. I noticed that when I walked in, but I haven't been paying attention. But that could be a barrier for me, right? If I kept focusing on that while I'm trying to talk to you, that could become a problem. Strong scent is another one. Scent, like smell. If I'm, bathed in perfume, that might be very hard for you. Some people have sensitive noses. People enjoy different scents, right? I may think it smells wonderfully, and you might think, what? So that, and it sounds silly to say these things, but they can be true barriers into how we interact and how we communicate with each other. We get distracted, right? We're humans. We get distracted by things. We get lost in thoughts. Oh my goodness, I wish I would not wear that perfume again, right? These things happen. So countermeasures. We talked about some of those technological electronic methods. Teleconferences, emails, Skype, teleconferences, scheduled meetings. For some of those sense distractions, that's personal accountability, right? I have to try as just a person not to focus on that. or not to get caught up in your curfew or whatever. Perceptual and emotional barriers, these are quite a bit different. I am going to go through this fast, but they're in your handout if you want to refer back to them later, okay? These are a lot more related to kind of what we talked about with the diversity, with the set of eyes that we're looking out from. So these are the preconceived opinions about receivers' capabilities and senders' qualifications. For those of you who still think maybe I have a PhD, you may be listening a little bit more closely. For those of you who think that was totally a lie, maybe you're not. Who knows? It depends on perhaps what opinion you've made about my qualifications. Tone and nonverbal. Who can tell me what a nonverbal communication method is? We talked about some earlier. Okay, body language. Well, eye contact, nodding, smiling, right? Gesturing. These are nonverbal methods of communication. Very important to how we are perceived and how we perceive others. Barriers, perceptual and emotional. If we have an insecurity or lack of confidence, how many of you think that I'm up here and I seem like I lack confidence? Probably not, right? I'm not really going to make you answer that, but I don't. I mean, I'm used to standing up in front of a room. I'm not showing you some of those nonverbals. I'm not nervous. I'm not, stuttering. But a lack of confidence can have a big impact on the sender. And in the academic world, it can lead to mistakes like plagiarism, right? If I lack confidence in what I have to say, in the work that I'm going to be able to produce, right? If I'm insecure about my intelligence and how that can come off, then I may be tempted to plagiarize. Because I can believe in maybe that person's work, but I'm not sure if mine is good enough. So those sorts of emotional barriers, those perceptual barriers are very important. So try to focus on the information, okay, rather than the situation. Try not to make it emotional. Realize there's a large margin for error if we're making assumptions about people. I would almost guarantee that not one of you got your first knee-jerk reaction of who I am correct, because we're way too complex for that, right? We can't be read that easily. There's too much to us, right? So there's a huge margin for error. You're always going to get something wrong when we make judgments about people. And try to avoid assumption. Cultural and language barriers. Again, we've discussed this. We need to be careful not to use jargon or technical language. So we want to try to speak in a level of vocabulary that we all can understand. Okay? That's why very early on in this presentation, I went through those definitions so that we knew we were all on the same page. And moving forward, we knew where that was coming from. Difficulty understanding or being understood. My husband is actually British, and he gets quite frustrated here sometimes because as soon as he goes into a shop or a restaurant or something, it has to speak to a clerk or a shopkeeper. Despite the common language, of course, as soon as people hear that accent, as soon as that's not what they were expecting, they shut down. I swear they switch off their brains. And almost every time they have to say, "Do you repeat that?" Right? Have any of you experienced something like that? Do you think? We can't be sure, but so I did my first master's degree in the United Kingdom. And the same thing happened to me when I was over there. It wasn't people trying to be rude, I don't think, right? It didn't have to do with how clearly I was able to speak or the message. It was just that accent, there was something there that they weren't expecting. And rather than just remaining an open receiver, they shut off, and then I had to repeat myself again, right? It's frustrating. Opportunities for miscommunication due to cultural differences and dissimilar cultural norms. We talked about the eye contact example, right? It's just a miscommunication, right? Neither of us may mean disrespect, but if we have a different take on eye contact or on how closely we stand to each other or on nodding yes or no, right? Show me what nodding yes is. What's nodding no? No. Is that, I mean, is that how you would do it? Okay. Are there any differences there? Is this different? No? Okay. So yes and no. But if we didn't nod yes and no in the same way, would that be a confusion in our communication? If I'm not interpreting what you're sending correctly? What if this is yes? That's gonna confuse our signals, right? Okay. So countermeasures for this: finding common ground, focusing on results. Again, how many times does that come up? Stick to the information, people. Right? Try to keep the emotions out of it. Be informed and prepared, and keep narrative clear and direct. Again, a vocabulary we can all agree on. The last is individual styles and preferences. We're all different. How we learn, how we listen, our own biases, our own experiential lesson. So what has my experience taught me? If that's going to make a difference. And then our communication method preferences. The phone call versus the email versus the meeting. So we can ask questions to check for understanding. So as a sender, I can say, to paraphrase, what I was explaining was blah, 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 blah. Is that what you understood? Right? I can make sure that I've condensed it, we're on the same page. As a receiver, I can do the same thing. So what I just understood you to say was blah, 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 blah. Is that right? Now we're on the same page. Very, 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 very helpful tool for communication. And you can do that, sender, receiver, whichever individual you're on. Checks for understanding. Restate main point. Okay. So technology impacts the way that we communicate. This is for the better, okay, for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about. And it's also for the worse, right? But it's not going anywhere. So we're going to have to bring out the betters and try to come to terms with the worst, right? Try to make sure that we're not missing the humpback whale, right? Do you want me to show the video or skip the video? Even longer this time? Is that possible? Okay. So, we're going to end with a video that Dr. Wabi had shared with me. And this is sort of that dark side of technology. It's a video called "I Lost My Phone." I always get it wrong. I lost my phone. I forgot my phone. I forgot my phone. And it's about a woman and following her throughout her day without her phone, and she's observing others. Okay. Now, I would say this is probably an extreme example, but as you watch, you're probably going to realize it's not that far off from what we see. Okay? So we'll end it with that, and then we'll do a few questions, and I will say my farewell. So, what questions do you have for me? Or did I just get so fabulous? No questions after I'm kidding. What questions have you got? Thank you.
So we have the question taken, no?
Well, my question is like, sometimes I enjoy a communication, and sometimes I need communication. So my question is like, should I change my style? Like, should I pretend like I'm someone else? Is this fair? I mean, or I should be just as you know myself in any kind of communication.
That's a good question. I'm glad we just talked about that. My opinion, for what it's worth, and that's where I have to, that's what I can provide on the topic, is that you be you, right? But you also want to try to make whomever you're speaking with comfortable, if you can, if you choose to, right? So what I mean by that is, you're not going to be a false version of yourself. You're not going to change your style or your communication. But let's say, can we go with the sphere of comfort level, right? If you notice that I'm backing away, maybe you stand a little bit further away from me while you're communicating with me, just out of respect to me, right? It's very small changes. My general answer would be, no, don't change yourself. But as a receiver, I would encourage everyone to be of the same opinion of other people. Does that make sense? So when you communicate with me, I want you to communicate like you communicate. I, as a receiver, want to be ready to adjust my expectations so that I'm listening to you and I'm not focused on he's standing too close to me or he is not making eye contact with me. I'm going to try to not be distracted by my personal preferences and how your difference. So does that make sense? I'm not articulating this especially well. Right. Sure. 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 So your question was, how are you going to know that about me immediately? I'm just repeating that for the. Right. Sure. And so in that circumstance, I would say, don't get hung up on it. None of this that I'm saying today is, get hung up on it, get nervous about it, try to change or try to be figuring me out, right? Because that's going to be counterproductive. Just what it boils down to, I think, is show me respect in your communication, assure that I'm showing you respect, and that's going to be the best place to start. I'm not saying you need to look for my comfortable sphere or my eye contact at all. I'm just saying if you happen to pick up on a cue, because our nonverbals are huge. I may be telling you a ton, even in a short period of time. And if you pick up on a cue and you notice it, then you can change, right? Then you can change to try to make me feel better. But in general, don't look for it. It's okay, right? We just want to be respectful of one another. Is that a little bit clearer? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. Sure. Sure. And I think you're kind of giving the opposite point to what he was saying, right? Because you're talking more about the immediate. We meet each other, we don't know each other while we're communicating. And you seem to be really focusing, Dr. Bobby, on a longer term relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Sure. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and educating oneself and being aware of cultural practices was one of the points on one of my slides. If that's possible, if you have the time to do that sort of research and that's what you're going to be doing, um, certainly it's worth the investment, right? It's worth trying to make those amendments on, you know, not a smaller scale, but right, if you see yourself as a visitor, as a guest. And I think certainly your impact on the receivers you encounter is going to change. It's going to be much more positive because it's not others just trying to constantly figure you out. Because as receivers, if it's a cultural difference for me, um, and if I just keep going to the eye contact thing because it's an easy example, so forgive me, guys. But let's just say that that's what it is. So if I go to Greece and there's an eye contact issue, one of us one way and one of us the other way, I'm going to have a very difficult time with my receivers in Greece. Right. If I, yes. I think that's very true. Hmm. Too loud. Too loud. Hmm. 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 Sure. Sure. Oh no, absolutely. I mean, they found me to be quite bubbly when I was in the UK. Huh? Well, more than I expected because I think of myself as quite a friendly person, but I wouldn't say I'm like over the top bubbly. I don't think of myself as especially loud, like I said, outside of this environment. And I didn't get that comment a lot, but generally, yes, that's how. At least in the UK, most of the people I encountered, they think Americans are loud, and they think that they are loud. That was the number one thing. But yes, that it's there this syrupy sort of uh, I don't know, this almost put on happy, you know. So that's a stereotype. That's a perception, right? And I did find that, and I fit that in ways that I wasn't really expecting, or at least people decided I fit that because that's what they thought they'd get in me, you know. So those sorts of things happen. There is no catch-all answer. I'm not trying to stand up here like I'm some, you know, total expert in world communication because they would pay me a lot more if I knew all of these answers in a very definitive way. But I think if we can start from the respect, and and I mean that in all sincerity, if that's where we start, it's gonna go a long way. You know, we want to be as informed about others as we can, um, but the one that I'm most capable of changing is right here, and that's the truth. So instead of getting hung up about how different you are or how I like to, you know, whatever, if I can not get so hung up on me as a receiver, if I can let a few of those things go, not let those take up the real estate in my head while we're having a conversation, and I can really focus on what you're saying, the information that you're sending, those sorts of things, and I can let those superficial sorts of things go. We're going to be able to do much better. And that's just with my change. If you can change too, then we can find a common ground and we're going to do wonderfully, right? Mhm. Right. Mhm. 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 Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Watch out for the soccer players. Mhm. 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 Where were you? Okay, so the. Sure. Sure. Mhm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Um, that's a really. It's a very complicated question. I think it goes. There's a few different of my favorite responses that I'm going to use here. I am on the mic. Oh, Dr. Robbie's question is as follows. Where do you draw the line if your experience is repeatedly the same with different individuals from the same group over time? Different individuals, different experiences, but the same. We use the soccer player hitting. Sorry, men's soccer. The soccer player example with hitting people. Yeah, it's a subculture thing. I guess there are a few specific things that you said in that question that I want to address sort of separately. And one of the things is that I heard a few times is that you've heard it from lots of people and you've seen it on the news and we have to beware, right? Because those are our external forces, right? So things like media, coworkers, whatever. Um, and we have to know and be sure that those are reliable and trustworthy sources, right? Hearsay can be devastating to a group of people because gossip is, it's very detrimental. What's memorable to me, positive or the negative? The negative, right? So I hear it, maybe I put my spin on it, maybe it wasn't one soccer player, now it was four soccer players, maybe it wasn't a year ago, it was last month, it wasn't over the past decade, it was over the past 2 weeks. Things change. So if I know that I can trust my sources, I know that that's all valid and true. Okay, there comes a point when I'm going to have to decide if I want to be more cautious, if I want to leave McDonald's, right? But we really, really want to make sure that it's our true informed decision. Because otherwise, that is a group that is being demonized and that is helpless to fight against it. And and I mean, there are real world examples of such things, I think. And I guess even though we're talking in silly terms, it kind of strikes a nerve, right? Because we can't rush to go, oh, well, then I better change my place in line. I better leave. Oh, it's them, right? Fill in the blanks. Oh, it's them. Oh, it's that group, right? I'm driving through that neighborhood. I better lock the doors. We have to be so careful about that because it's poisonous, right? It is. It's poisonous. And then we become a part of the problem instead of a part of the solution. Right. Right. It's again, if I had the answers, I would be a like millionaire motivational speaker or something. I don't know all of the answers, but I do know that that's an area that I say unequivocally proceed with caution. Don't make your decisions too quickly or too rash. Don't make them too permanent. Okay, maybe it's been going on for the last month and I know that and that's true And so today maybe but I can't hang on to that for my life, right? Maybe things will change. Um, Another common chorus that I sing is, I'm not really gonna sing, is let people reserve the right to be the one who's different. Even if you think that this stereotype is true about a group, and it's very hard for you to let it go because it overlaps in all the spheres, let that soccer player standing next to you in McDonald's be the one who's not going to punch you in the face. I realize that is a completely ridiculous statement, but I mean the sentiment incredibly sincerely. Allow a person to show you that that doesn't apply to all of them, whoever our them group is. Okay? I want to reserve the right to be different. If I belong to a group that you have a stereotype or a prejudice or problem with, I'd like to show you that I am better than that, right? That I can be a good example, that I can be a whatever. And I'm using this in vague and general terms, but we all deserve that. We all deserve to own the right to be the better version. So let other people have that privilege as well. He tries to stump me. You notice that? Yes, sir. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go to Arby's instead. Sure. Sure. So it's just it's a reprise of the question. At what point do you draw the line? So I'm saying let's all hold hands and skip to my loo, and you're saying and you get punched again. Boy, you live in a sad world that hates soccer players. Hey, by the way, yeah, you meant soccer. We got no problems with you. Sorry, Chris. um, we did this all day. Hypothetical, right? Sorry. Once you start going with something, it's easy to start going with it. Yes, there's a point where you have to go with your instinct. You have to go with your intellect. I'm not going to try to deny that. What I'm going to try to say is wait until the last possible moment. I don't expect anyone to put themselves in danger with those, scary soccer players. Um, but I still emphasize the main point. Once you get to the point where you're sure you've been punched, whatever, um, if that's what you really think, then okay, proceed with caution, right? Um, but generalizing groups is just so much easier than giving people a second chance. I think in theoretical terms and not literal terms, I think I'd rather take the chance on people and maybe get punched once than to live my life afraid of everybody. Theoretically, I really don't want to get punched. I would imagine that would hurt a lot. But in theoretical terms, I think I'd rather give people a chance and take. In realistic terms, of course, you have to be safe. But okay, this is kind of how.
See how wonderful speaker Kelly is. And if you don't have any other comments, please give her a warm goodbye and thank you.